Hey guys, welcome back to Chef Monica's Kitchen. Today we are making a wild mushroom risotto, and I'm doing that because it's my birthday present to myself since we couldn't go out for my birthday, so I'm gonna make my own birthday dinner. So we started off here with our mirepoix. I've got onions, carrots, celery. To that we're throwing in a little bit of red pepper that I chopped up, garlic, and then some fresh portobello mushrooms, or cremini mushrooms, they're baby bellas. I want to show you what I like to do with my mushrooms. I don't like washing my mushrooms, even though I know they're kind of dirty little boogers, but if you wash them, because they're so porous, they tend to soak up all that liquid and they get really chewy and gummy. So a lot of people that don't like mushrooms don't like them because of the texture. So this helps to eliminate that issue, and it cleans your mushrooms. So what I like to do is to take that stem. When you pop that stem out just like that, you can see there's kind of a little flap in here. If you grab onto that, you can actually peel that outer layer of your mushroom, and then what you're left with is that clean mushroom underneath. And then you don't have to wash it, and you have the perfect little mushroom there. Let me show you one more just so that you can see how it works. Again, pop out the stem and then peel it just like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and slice these up to add to the risotto. And what I have in the pan behind me, I'm going to show you that in a second here, is a little bit of butter and olive oil. So I like to use butter because I love the flavor of the butter, but butter burns very rapidly. So I throw the olive oil in there just to help slow that down a little bit. Once this starts to sizzle, I'm going to add in all of my fresh ingredients, and I'm going to cook that on a fairly high temperature because I want my mushrooms to cook completely down, all the liquid to evaporate, and for them to start to caramelize on the bottom of the pan there. By doing so, you're going to get a really, really nice, almost meaty flavor out of it. Since this is a vegetarian dish, I'm technically vegetarian, and it gives it really, really nice texture that way as well. So I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so you can see this is now all sizzling in there. So we're going to throw in all of our fresh vegetables, and then I'm going to season that up with a little bit of salt, pepper, freshly ground nutmeg, grated nutmeg. So I always, anytime I'm cooking mushrooms or any other green leafy vegetable, whether that be spinach, kale, collard greens, any of those, you always want to add just a tiny bit of freshly ground nutmeg. It gives it a really great flavor. It's something that's very common, particularly in Northern Italian cuisine. And it does taste way better when you do it fresh versus having the pre-ground nutmeg. It just makes a world of difference in terms of the pungency of the flavor. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm also going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper flake just because I want to add a little heat to this. I like things a tiny bit spicy, not overly spicy so that you can't taste anything, but just spicy enough for a little bit of heat. So we'll toss that in there. Again, a little bit of salt and pepper, not too much. The salt is there to flavor, but also the salt is going to draw that moisture out of the mushrooms a little bit faster. Fresh cracked pepper. Herb de Provence, kind of like my secret ingredient to practically everything. It's a combination of thyme, savory, chervil, tarragon, lavender, marjoram, and rosemary. Make sure that the one you get has the lavender in it. That makes all the difference, and it's a really great all-purpose spice to use for soups, stews, stock, meat, and then here's your nutmeg that we're going to just use a microplane to zest that in there, and I'm using quite a bit. Not going to be stingy on this. And as I said, we're going to put this on a high heat, let this cook down completely, and then we'll check back on it in just a second. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about, because we don't have a lot of options in terms of fresh mushrooms around here, to give this a little bit more flavor, I took some dried mushrooms that I resuscitated. All I did was put some boiling water over the top of it, and then they basically plump right back up again. So this kind of goes against what I said about not washing mushrooms, but in this case it's a totally different thing since I need to reconstitute these. And I saved the labels because I wanted to show you the types of mushrooms. We're using maitake, chanterelles, oysters, and black trumpets. If I would have found dehydrated morels, I would have thrown those in there as well. If you are a mushroom hunter and you want to use your own morels, go for it. Because I'm a commercial kitchen, I can't do that. So once you've got these all resuscitated, we're going to go ahead and chop these up. Once the fresh mushrooms are cut down or cooked down, I will go ahead and add these to that. And then we'll add the arborio rice in there as well. I'll talk about the arborio in a second. Notice how you have this really luscious looking liquid in here. Some of this will be a little bit grainy, silty on the bottom, but what's on the top there, I'm gonna use a little bit of that in with the risotto to give it that really thick, rich mushroom flavor.
Smart to pour it through a strainer or just do it on top?
I just won't use all of it. So we'll leave this, whatever has sunk to the bottom, the sediment, we'll leave that there. But I want to use some of that good stuff on top so that I can get that good flavor. So we'll do that in just a second. Alrighty, so you can see these mushrooms have caramelized way down, all the liquid has evaporated, and it's just starting to brown on the bottom, which is what I want. So now I'm going to add our arborio rice. So arborio rice is an Italian, really short grain rice. It's quite starchy, which is why as you slowly add liquid to it, it starts to thicken and almost create its own sauce. It gets very viscous and it gives it that quintessential sort of creaminess that you get from risotto. So we're gonna add some of that in there. I'm gonna say, this is gonna make a big batch, but probably about 2 cups or so of the arborio rice.
The bigger the better.
Yes, my husband needs leftovers. And then I'm gonna also go ahead and add all of the resuscitated mushrooms that I've chopped up. And then we're gonna go ahead and toast the mushrooms just a tiny bit. I wanna go ahead and make sure that I toast them so that you get a little bit of a nutty flavor on them. It gives a really nice sort of nuanced flavor at the very end of the cooking process. So let me show you that in just a second here. Oh, that was a little hot. Hold that thought, I'll be right back. All right, so I have this back on the burner here. I'm just gonna stir this a little bit. It's still too hot. Let me grab a pot holder. Don't burn yourself like I do all the time. It's my like one disease in the kitchen. I don't cut myself very often, but I burn myself practically every day. Okay, so we're gonna toast up this rice. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of white wine, whatever you happen to have left over. I have some leftover Moscato. You could use Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc. The only thing I probably wouldn't use is a Chardonnay because the oakiness of a Chardonnay makes it then taste like Chardonnay for the rest of the dish.
Or a white Zin because it's too sugary.
Or a white Zin. But yeah, any other white wine that you happen to have left over. I don't usually have leftover wine. This was probably from a previous guest, but it'll work just fine. Whatever you do though, don't use the stuff that's called cooking wine. That stuff is loaded with salt, tastes nasty. Basically the rule of thumb is if you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. So we'll go and add just a little bit of that white wine in there. And then when I say deglaze the pan, basically all I'm doing is adding some liquid in so that I can scrape up any of those brown bits off the bottom of the pan. All of those brown bits have flavor, and I want all those to end up in our dish here. So as soon as that gets all soaked up, which happens very rapidly, now comes the fun part. This is going to be turned down to sort of a medium heat here, and I slowly will add liquid. First some of my mushroom liquid, and then I have vegetable stock here that I've heated up. 1 ladle at a time, and then you stir. And then another ladle, and then you stir. And you do this for an interminable period of time until the rice is finally cooked through just al dente, so that means to the tooth. Should still have a tiny bit of a bite but not be crunchy, and it will have released a lot of that starch and become nice and creamy. So we'll check back with you as I'm stirring and stirring and stirring and working my arms out in the process. This is how I have my nice looking guns. And that's all I'm gonna add. See all that stuff on the bottom? I don't want the rest of that in there. You can kind of see it in there. It's a little murky, kind of like a swamp. I don't want swampy risotto.
Swampy risotto. It sounds
Swampy
like
risotto?
something. It sounds like something a Mrs. Rose would say.
Oh yes, if Schitt's Creek. If anybody's not seen it, I highly recommend it. Still stirring. It's been 15 minutes. Wake me up when it's done. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the risotto will go on and on and on and on. 40 40 minutes into this, I decided I needed libations. Libations? Yeah, that's the right word. I haven't even had any to drink yet and I already can't
Sure you haven't.
I'm just, it's okay.
How much more stirring?
Maybe another 10 minutes or so. And then we'll be done. By George, it's done! I know this sounds super tedious, but really it's totally worth the effort because risotto is like one of the greatest things on the planet. So maybe not totally kosher, but I'm putting some grated Parmesan in here because it makes everything better. And then we'll mix that all together. I'm gonna give it a quick little taste. And I don't know if you can see in here, it's gotten like really nice and creamy and luscious. And I didn't do anything except add that liquid to it.
And stir.
And well, yes.
And stir.
It's all about the technique and the labor of love. So give this a quick little taste. Again.
Wait. We have to get a plate and plate it up and make it look pretty, don't we?
No, I'm just gonna take a taste.
You're just gonna eat it. All right.
Yeah. This whole portion's just for me.
Oh, wow.
For my birthday. Because I need carbs, damn it. Sorry, can I say that on camera?
Damn it, it's your show.
It's my show. All right, ready? This time I'm really going to blow because last time I burnt my mouth. I'm going to go eat now. Bye-bye.